Okay, Shabab? So now, when we go to my SQL console, okay, the first thing is in order just to see what are the existing databases in your server, just type show databases and always finish your statement with colon. Okay, Shabab? Just type show databases and finish your, just look if I don't do that, if I don't finish it, if I don't put semicolon, what will happen? If I click on enter, that means my SQL will wait for you to finish the statement. So I have to finish it. Okay? And here I do have, you press enter, and you will see all these databases. Not necessarily you will have the same as mine, but you do have at least some default database. What do you have in your system, Shabab? Information schema?
Information schema, my SQL, performance schema, or system.
Test. Do you have test?
No test, لا بس في SYS هذه system.
Okay, SYS. Okay, system. Okay, so these are the default databases that you do have on your system or on your server. Because when we are talking here, why we said it is good to use that WAMP server. But WAMP server is turning your computer as client server. So now your computer is working as a client and it is working also as a server. Okay, and usually when you create a database and you put that database in the server, for instance, and you go to your client, let's assume that you do have a browser, you have written an HTML web page using PHP, for instance, and you can access this database through just a browser, and you can query your database, you can query the info, you can search within your database for the data you are looking for. Now, as we mentioned, we said that we need to create Southwind database, okay? Now, to create the Southwind database, what we are going to do, we are going to just write down, create database, and put the name of your database, and don't forget to finish it with fasila manqota. Create database, space, you do have create, space, database, space, Southwind. And all what we are writing, Shabbat, this create, this is an SQL statement. Inshallah, when we are going to cover the SQL chapter, you will see that this is the main statement, one of the main statement. This is one the main statement for SQL that will help you to create database or to create table or whatever. So we do have create space database space Southwind, and if it is successful, you should have query OK, and it says one row affected. So it is OK. That means now let's verify. Let's type again show databases to make sure that you have created that Southwind database. Okay, I will just type show databases, and I press enter, and you can see the Southwind. Oh, I made a mistake. I didn't put the U. Doesn't matter. So that Southwind is now part of my databases within the server. Now, if I want, for instance, to delete my database, I will write just drop. This is also an SQL statement, drop, that will help you to delete things. Database. For me, I have to write exactly with a mistake, then I will correct it later. Drop database, then put the name of your database. Query OK. Let's verify if it has been deleted from the system or not. Show databases again. Press enter, and then it is not there. Okay, Shabab?
Yes.
Another query, what we can do, let's go create it again, create. Now, database, what we can do, we can write if, for instance, not exists, okay? Then we put the name of our database. Here we are making sure that if it doesn't exist, the database doesn't exist, okay? We create a new database with the name Southwind. And let's press enter after writing down the command. And you can see here, you do have a query, okay, one row affected. Let's show databases again. Okay, and it is there. Southwind for my site, for my in my monitor, it shows that the Southwind has been created. Okay, Shabab? You can use the same way we do with drop. Okay, we can use that exist. Okay, instead of using not exist, when we use drop database, for instance, we say if exist. We are not going to delete something that doesn't exist. We say, we tell the system that drop the database if exist, and we give the name of our database, Southwind. Okay. So if you can see here, okay, create query, okay. Let's verify if it has been dropped. It is not there. Okay. Now, let's go back and create again our database. Okay. Okay. Query. Make sure that it has been created. It is Southwind. So this is the first part of creating a database, dropping, creating, whatever. Okay, with regard to the database itself. Everyone, Shabab, has created Southwind database, because we need to move on to the next part. Everyone, guys? Anyone is behind? You can wait for him just a few seconds. Okay. Now you do have here in front of you many databases. What I want to do, I want to, as we mentioned in our scenario, we need to we need to create table product. Okay, we need to create table product inside the Southwind database, not anywhere. We need to create it inside the database. Okay, so what we do, we need to use it. I tell the console use, and I will put the name of the database. Use Southwind. So I want to, after that, use Southwind. Okay, anything that will be created as a table, it will be created inside the Southwind database. Okay, if you put here, for instance, use Southwind, you press enter. If you can see here, it says database changed. Now, to verify, okay, to see what is the default now, okay, just say select database and between bracket and see what will happen. And if you can see here, it shows you now what is the default database you are working on. Here we said use Southwind. If you want to use any other, just use my practice, use MySQL, whatever. In our example, we are using Southwind. It says database changed. To make sure that you are inside the Southwind, you just select database with a bracket, and it gives you the default database, okay, that you are working on. Clear for this part, guys? Now, let's move on to verify.
I got null.
Now,
I got null, doctor. When I make select database, I got null.
Select with bracket. With bracket, like I did here.
Okay, yes, I get database, then null after it.
Have you used Southwind with the correct
Ah,
name? Use. You have to use it, of
okay,
course. You have to, just like we are choosing database. Which database we are
yes,
choosing? We are choosing.
now
Okay.
it's work.
Okay.
Now it's work.
Now let's look at if we do have what are the tables, because database without a relation inside it, without tables, it's nothing. So the idea about creating database is to create those relations, those tables, and create the link between those tables. Okay, as we have seen in our previous chapters. So here, to verify what are the if there are any tables inside Southwind, just show. Okay, tables. Type in show tables, and it says empty set. It is normal. It is an empty set because we don't have such table, or we haven't created yet table or any table inside our database. Clear, Shabab, for this one? Show tables. It shows you if there are any other tables. It is an empty set because it is a new database and we haven't created any table inside it. Now, what you are going to do, you are going to create now, okay, that product table. Okay, and I want you to write down this SQL statement. Okay, and don't forget, Shabab, here we are saying with each line you do here comma, okay, the comma to specify that this is one declaration, this is another declaration, and at the end you close the bracket and put the semicolon. Okay, to terminate, to say to the MySQL that this is the termination of the whole statement. Okay,
Doctor,
let me just yes.
for the syntax, create table of not exists. It doesn't have to be capital, right?
No, yes, of course. It doesn't have to be capital, of course. Okay. Just make sure that you type exactly what is on the screen. Huh? And I will explain the statement later.
So how you go to next line? You will just
Press enter. Just press enter. Press enter. Everyone, Shabab has finished?
I'm finished.
Is there anyone behind it, Shabab? For those who have finished, okay, just to make sure. Okay, normally you have query, okay, and what you can do, just show tables to make sure that the table that we have created right now has been created. Okay, in previous types, when we typed, you remember when we typed the show tables, there was an empty set, there was nothing. Okay.
Yes, now we'll find it.
Yes. Now suppose we are creating table, and if you press enter, you see how that the product table has been created. Clear, Shabab, for this one? For this part?
Yes.
Anyone behind? نعم.
قبل شوي مثلا اخطأت واحدة في الستيتمنت ضغطت انتر، ما اقدر ارجع اعدلها يعني ولا لازم اكتب من جديد؟
للحين ما تقدر ترجع تعدلها يعني تكتبها من جديد.
اوكي تمام.
Unless if it is correct. Unless if it is correct, we'll see later what are the different. There is a command that will help you to alter or to change your table. But once it is created, if it is not created and you entered wrong statement, you cannot. You have to type it again, as I did in myself.
Okay.
Doctor, can you share this file?
نعم.
So can you share this file so if I'm behind I can follow later after the class?
Inshallah, of course. Okay, Shabab?
Doctor, if you, for example, copy this code and paste it, it will work or not?
Yes, but if it is text file, yes, it will work.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as we mentioned, show tables. Now, let's see. We do have now our table. This is our table, which is the south wind. Now I want to see the schema of the table. Okay, here what we have seen just the product, which is the table called product. Now I want to see the schema of my table. You just use describe, okay, product with the name of the table. So you want to see its schema. Describe a product, and if you can see here, you do have the field, the type, whether null, yes or not, what is the key, the default, auto increment. There's inside different other extra information about any attribute. And if you can see here, each attribute you have created, product ID, it is here, product code, name, quantity, price. This is the data type. Okay, int, integer, unsigned, which means it is a plus, positive number. This is a character, maximum 3. This is a variable character, maximum 30. This is an integer of 10 number, okay, which is unsigned, and decimal 7 with 2 numbers after the dot, because it is decimal. Whether it is null or not, because we specified all them not null, we do have no. Which one is the primary key? Okay, and here we specified primary key when we put which attribute we want it to be our primary key. Here we said product ID that we have created here. It is considered as primary key, and it is shown here as on your schema. Whether, if you remember, Shabab, what we said yesterday, when we do have those violation of insert, delete, changing, we said sometimes you can have option that you do cascading, or you turn those attributes into default value. And this is one way of specifying the default. Default here and empty, nothing. Okay? And here this is null, default null, because here we said default null. The other one, quantity null, 0. Here we put it 0. And you do have, for instance, the other one is, this is the default value. If you don't enter the value for some specific, when you are inserting values inside your table for each attribute, if you don't insert it, it will be automatically given the default value. Auto increment, that means the product ID will be automatically incremented. Okay, it will take, for instance, it will have the first number you give to the product ID, then the remaining, and then each time you enter a new record, that product ID will be incremented by 1 based on the value that has been already given to that product or to that attribute. Okay, now let's insert some, at least let's say insert a row or tuple. So we are going to use insert. Okay, this is a keyword for SQL to insert, where we now to into, you specify the name of the table, which is product. Then you specify the values for the attribute, and you open bracket and you enter 1001, for instance. Then I will have, let's say, pen. Okay, what we do have here, product code and the name. Okay, let's say product code is pen, then the name is pen. Let's say small. Also, let's have it pen red, for instance. Quantity 5,000, and the price there's 1.23.
Doctor, should be comma between name and quantity.
Name. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Okay. And if you type, you press enter, you should have a query. Okay. This is one way of inserting, for instance, one row. If you want to insert more than one row inside your table, we can use, for instance, let's say insert. Always insert into product. Okay. values. Okay, and we can have, for instance, I will type null pen. Let's say I do have here pen blue quantity. Let's make it 8,000. Do have here? Okay, yes, we do have here. We're just following this table, Shababa. 8,000.
You make product ID null.
Naam, you will see later. You will see, Shabab. 2,000. Now 1.25. Okay. Then I will put comma and go to the other line and
Sorry,
just
Dr.
type in.
First
Naam.
pen without colon, not colon.
Yes,
Quotation.
yes. Now I will see later how it will happen. I think that you see that quotation is here. Null. Okay. This is the problem when you enter. Sometimes you miss something. Okay. The first thing now what we are learning to use it in a command line. Of course, MySQL or WAMP server has an interface. Okay, it does have a graphical interface, but I want you to get used with the command line. Okay, in the exams, you are going to write down the command line, not using the interface. Of course, the interface is the easy one that you will use. Okay, but I want you to have some practice on some command. Okay, that you have to enter through the command line interface. Okay, what we do have it 2,000. Then we do have 1.25. So I will just stop with this one. Okay, and see what happened. Yes, it is asking me for okay, let's just have a look. What was we started with which one? With the blue. Okay, the blue over here. Into product value. It was the blue one. Blue with 8,000 and 125. Oh, so I made a mistake, ya shabab. Just think about what was has been asked now, why we are entering when putting a null value. Try to think why, ya shabab.
انها auto increment فوق.
Yes.
Barakallah. What does that mean, say auto increment? Does this value correspond to the primary key or not?
Yes.
Allah yahdik. How can a primary key be a value, has a null value? While violating constraint.
هو بالبدايه احنا حطينا 1100 1001 لاول برودكت، فكل ما الحين حطينا نل يسوي اوتو انكريمنت يصير 1002 1003
وهكذا. لا يا شباب ايش قلنا احنا when you insert it should be in the order it has been created. صح ولا لا؟ when we insert something and we said insert into product values, all these values should correspond to the field, the way how we described or we created in the schema. The first one should correspond to the first one. The second one should correspond to the second one. The third one should correspond to the third one. Quantity here should correspond to the quantity. And 1.23 should correspond to the price. And if you remember what I said if you don't put an attribute values in this statement, automatically the corresponding attribute will get the default value. Okay?
Yeah.
And here what we put null, you will see later how we can have it, what will happen. How many I did here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how many we do have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if it is null, what will happen?
It will get default value.
Yes. You remember what we said like yesterday? For instance, whether you choose the cascade, when you do cascade, for instance, you choose to delete or you give it the default value. Okay.
Yes.
So now, if because we put null and the primary key should not be null, so what will happen? Okay. So automatically, the auto increment will take place and it will take the first value that we have entered, okay, plus 1. Okay, you're going to see later how this will be incremented. The first one was 1, then this one plus 1 will be 2, this one will plus 1, 3, and so on. So it is automatically created. Let me just finish with the last one. And black 1,125. Okay, if you can see here, okay, duplicate 0 and to record. So now, what we are going to do,
See my table.
to see the data, okay, we are going to use select everything. I want to select everything. You put that star from product. Okay, and I do have here my, let's say, basic table. Okay, just part of the data on the table. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, pen. Okay, red, blue, black, and you do have the quantity and the price. So of course, sometimes when you do have say a big number of attributes, you will not have. You cannot see it. I mean, the interface to see the data will be not as let's say as might like what we are seeing here. You will have, for instance, some data in this line, then you will have the next line, you will have the remaining data, and so on. It's not like in when you use graphical interface, but at least here you get use this select. This is the strong statement clause in SQL. You're going to see in SQL chapter that everything is based on the select statement. Okay. And what we have seen here, the data definition language, we have just used define the database. We defined the tables inside the database. We inserted some data inside our database. Then, if you want to insert, for instance, if you want to insert a new data, you do the same thing. Okay, you do the same thing in order just to make sure that what we are using, we are using the correct statement that will help you to create your database and to insert those, let's say, those records, we let tuples. Now, when we talk about tuples, this one is considered a tuple. This is the first line, is considered as a tuple. The second one is considered as a tuple, and so on. Clear, Shabab, for this part?
Yeah.
Yes, doctor.
Are you following? Everyone is following, guys?
For me, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now let's just go to another. Let's suppose that let's create another table. Okay. And do some other statement or other practice. Create, for instance, table. And just call it test alter. Test alter. What we do have here, to use at least one colon. Okay. Test alter. Let's, for instance, let's have I as int. Then let's have another one, for instance, C character. Have 1. Okay. Then Let's close it. Okay, query. Okay, let's show tables. Test alter. Okay, here we are going to use the alter command, which is also a strong command that will help you to do changes on your database. Okay, now let's, for instance, I want to remove this table, or sorry, to drop this attribute. Okay, we use alter table. Okay, you specify the table, test alter. Okay, then you tell what you want to do as alteration, as changing the table. What do you want to change in that test alter table? For me, for instance, I want to drop that attribute. Okay, what it says correct. Okay, Shabab, let's have a look. Describe table. Remember, what we do have here?
I think there's a typo. There's an E at the end of
what
this
it says?
slide.
Sorry. Directly. What we do have? What it says?
We don't need
E. Yeah. Huh?
I think there's describe.
Yeah. Okay, you can see here now that I, okay, that I that has been created at the beginning has been dropped. Now what I do have only this attribute in my in my table. Okay, now I want to return it. I want to add it back. Okay, what we will do, we use always also alter table, and you put the name of the table, test alter, and put add. What do you want to do? I want to add an attribute which I will call I, and the data type int. Okay, I will describe again, and if you can see here, it has been added to my table. Okay, Shabab, yes. Let's have a look at the columns of my table. Let's show columns. Okay, from test alter, for instance, and these are the column. Okay, you do have the field, the type, null, yes or not, key, default, and if you do have any extra in your database. Okay, and you can add whatever you want. For instance, whatever let's specify. For instance, you want to add another extra attribute. You do the same way as using the I. Now let's modify. For instance, let's modify the type. Okay, for the type, let's modify it. Let's say, for instance, this C now has been given char 1, for instance, character 1. So I want to modify it. What I will do, I will use the alter as well. Alter table, the name of the table. Then what I want to do, okay, we have used previously add, we have used alter. Now I want to modify. Okay, modify. What I want to modify, I want to modify this C field, C. What modification? I want to be that C will be character 10. Okay, it says okay. Always when you see query okay, that means you don't have any errors in your statement. It doesn't mean that character 10 or 20, whatever you have written is correct from the logical aspect of your database, but with regard to the statement, SQL statement, it is correct. Okay, now you can see it has changed from 1 to 10 just by using that alter command. It is a very powerful command. Okay, if I want, for instance, to rename the table. Okay, if you want to rename the table, also alter table. You put the name of the table, test alter. Then what you want to do? I want to rename. Just type a rename to, for instance, alter table test, for instance. We do have error here. What we have?
dash بدل underscore.
Okay. Good. Okay. Now let's show tables. Okay, and now it has been changed. Okay, Shabab. So we are done for today's practice. Tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to have another practice.